Hi, I'm Donica Hudson, and we're live here at the Salt and Light Conference in Mount Airy, North Carolina, at the North Carolina Faith and Freedom Coalition. And with me, I have the Todd Starnes. Todd, thanks for joining us.
It's great to be here. What a great town.
It is.
This is literally Mayberry. I'm not sure if people realize this is where Andy Griffith grew up.
It is.
And we all talk about, can't we ever get back to Mayberry? Well, here we are.
Utopia. You know, I grew up in North Carolina, Todd. So Andy Griffith, I think my mom played every one of his series ad nauseum because, she was bedridden there for a while. So
Wow.
I could tell you probably verbatim what the storylines are.
I went over to the Andy Griffith Museum. I had some free time, and it was really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of great memories. And they told me, they gave me a badge when I came in. They
Really?
said, "You are today's honorary sheriff." And I felt so excited and so important until I realized everybody else was an honorary sheriff too. So go figure.
Well, last night you were a great speaker, not just honorary. And you had a bit of breaking news that none of us were thinking about. I guess we kind of knew down the road it might happen. Do you want to share that with those who are
Well,
watching?
of course, literally just a few minutes before I got up to speak, we got word that Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg had passed away. And of course, that sort of changed the game for what we were going to do last night, and I adjusted my remarks on the fly. And I thought it was really interesting. We all stopped and we just prayed for Justice Ginsburg and her family as they're going through a difficult time.
Yeah.
But we also prayed for the President of the United States and members of Congress who are going to have some very important decisions moving forward. And you really hate to mix politics with the loss of a loved one.
Right.
This is the political reality of the world, and honestly, it's already gone, I guess, apocalyptic as far as the politics of it all.
And, I so appreciated being there. You're leading the prayer. That was just wonderful. And I think all of us, particularly those in Christendom here at this conference, want to honor those who have gone on, who've served our country, even if their worldviews are different from ours. And I so appreciated what you did. Thank you.
Well, it's, and again, I think sometimes in politics you forget the humanity of people. And one of the things I noticed, and honestly, this was happening among many conservatives, including President Trump, have been very gracious in their thoughts and memories about Justice Ginsburg, clearly on the opposite side of the political spectrum. But there are a lot of lessons that we can learn from her. She was a very principled liberal. And wouldn't it be nice if we had more principled conservatives on the court, principled conservatives on Capitol Hill? And she has been praised by many on the left for being unwavering and uncompromising in her beliefs. And we can only pray that in coming days, the Senate Republicans will embrace what Ruth Bader Ginsburg believed, her philosophy of politics moving forward.
Mm-hmm. I think so. And you mentioned last night that, tell us, a lot of people watching, they're going, "Oh, you're talking to Todd Starnes. Where are you these days? How do they follow you?" And I think you mentioned a little bit about a few million people now.
Yeah, it's been a blessing. We really are more of a down home style conservative website, and it's we're not all that highfalutin, but we do have all the highfalutin people on our front porch of our website.
What is that highfalutin website?
It's toddstarnes.com. We make it very simple, and that's the platform for the podcast, and we have a daily newsletter that comes out. And really, one of the things that we take pride in is we don't charge for any of this. They're free resources for people of faith, for patriots out there as they try to figure out what's going on in the country.
Yeah. Well, last night when you were talking, and by the way, we had a great jamming time before the conference started today. We've been here in Mount Airy, Andy Griffith's town, since 9 a.m. And it's been wonderful. Todd, when is it that you are speaking?
So I'm speaking later on this afternoon. I'm the closing act. So so I'm really looking forward to that. It's a bit daunting though, because I'm coming after Judge Janine, and I'm coming after Ralph Reed. So I'm like, wow, what is there left to say? I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure you have plenty.
I may have a few things.
You've done a few radio shows here and there.
A few radio shows, but I had a chance to visit with Judge Janine, and she doesn't come down to the South very often. And she's from Long Island. She's a Yankee. And I'm like, "Judge, you gotta let us take you around, show you some barbecue joints, and I think she's up for it."
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I grew up here in North Carolina. And no, you were I believe you said you went to Lee
Went
University.
to Lee University. Yeah,
Yes.
grew up. I was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee,
Okay.
and went to Lee University, which is a terrific school
Mhm.
over in East Tennessee. And I
Mhm.
have to tell you, I love East Tennessee, but my family's over in the western part of the state, so you have to
Okay.
kind of stay where your roots are.
You do.
Look, I had a great growing up experience, and I love the South.
Mhm.
Everything I do now is flavored by the values and the traditions that we learned as Southerners growing up.
Mhm.
And there just is, I mean, look, I think there's something about the South, but I've noticed that same kind of spirit in the Midwest
Mhm.
and out in the Southwest as well. And I really believe, in all my travels,
Mhm.
that Americans have so much more in common than the mainstream media would let us believe that we have in common.
Yeah, I think so too. There's a wholesomeness, at least part of the time, in the South and the
Sure.
Midwest.
One of my favorite stories. We have a lot of great callers, and to our radio program. And one day, we were talking about Sarah Huckabee Sanders,
I love her.
who
Yes.
is doing a video address, and just was so excited to have her as a part of our event here.
Mhm.
And she got into it one Thanksgiving, if you remember this. April Ryan, from a CNN contributor, Sarah had posted a photograph of her pecan pie for Thanksgiving, and it was a delicious looking pie, family recipe. And April Ryan suggested that it was a fake, that Sarah Sanders did not make the pie. Now, as a Southerner,
Oh yeah.
you never question a Southern woman's pie
Oh
making
no.
skills. That's a
That's
big
her
no-no. Yeah,
identity.
that's where the cast iron skillet comes out.
That's right.
So I actually wrote a column about this, and we were talking about it on the radio, and we had this sweet old lady from Gadsden, Alabama, call,
Uh-huh.
and she goes, "Todd, I'm a good God-fearing Christian woman. I'm a good God-fearing Christian woman." So she's Southern, and she says woman,
That's right.
and she says, "But if somebody questioned my pie," she says, "that's when the that's when the hair goes up, the hoops come off, and we have a come to Jesus meeting." So
That's classic.
I thought,
That
my
is
word,
classic. Well, while we're on the topic of Southern and North Carolina,
yes.
you had a recent article about Appalachian State University and things that are going on there. Shouldn't be a shock, as we know socialism has totally infiltrated the university system, but could you elaborate on the article?
Sure. Yeah, this was a crazy story, and a lot of times the stories we write about, those come to us from our listeners and
Mhm.
readers, and they'll say, "You're not going to believe what happened to my child," and that's exactly what happened here. A
Mhm.
parent sent us the information. The students were required to take a survey, and the whole point of this was to find out where they are. Are you conservative? Are you liberal? And they had questions that were very leading and clearly very anti-conservative. And one of the statements said, "I believe that it's perfectly okay to assassinate Republicans for the better of the country." And it's
Hold
really,
up. The question asked or said, I believe it's okay to assassinate
yeah,
Republicans?
yeah, it sure did. It sure did. And the idea was, it's just, and look,
That's appalling.
well, of course it is. And it's not so much a Republican if you're conservative or liberal; it's whether you're a criminal or not. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just outrageous. But there's you have to words. I believe words matter,
They do.
and you need to understand. And I think folks need to understand where all of this is coming from. Back in 2016, Hillary Clinton on the campaign trail, she called us, Trump supporters, a basket of deplorables.
Yes.
But she said another word. She used the word irredeemable. And that implies that the people who support the president are beyond redemption. And in a way, if you think about that, if you're beyond redemption, well, that almost justifies the violence, because in a way, they don't believe that you're human. I mean, it's almost as if you're an animal or some sort of a creature that needs to be exterminated.
Mhm.
And so we've been seeing this, so there you have Hillary say that. Maxine Waters came out and told a group of people in Los Angeles to absolutely harass Trump supporters, get in their faces. And where does she say to do it? In the gas stations, and the restaurants, and the shopping centers.
Our daily life.
And look at what's happening.
Right.
Look at what's happening right now, where the Black Lives Matter protesters.
It's anarchy.
It is anarchy. It's a very dangerous place that we're going in the country.
Mhm.
And then last night, and we have some stories up on the website. Last night, you have the blue checkmark people on Twitter. The famous liberals coming out and actually advocating for violence and death if President Trump move forward and nominate somebody to replace Justice Ginsburg.
So, what do you think that's going to look like? Are we going to have that?
Yeah, I just a few moments ago had a conversation with Congressman Mark Walker from here in the state of North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked him that question, and he said that he is very concerned about the outbreak of violence, and rightfully so. Keep in mind that it was a politically motivated attack on those Republican congressmen at the baseball practice. Steve Scalise
Yes.
nearly
Shot.
lost his life,
Yes.
along with 3 other people. So these are, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but the fact that you have lawmakers that are very concerned about this right now, it's something we need to pay close attention to.
That's right. That's right. And it's very dangerous when those that we elect as leaders advocate for violence. That is not the American way. It's not even constitutional. And I think that we need more media covering, more people like Todd Starnes, who are voices of clarity and reason in all the chaos, mayhem, looting that's going on, to bring balance and honestly return us back to the voice that we, the people, should have.
Look, I mean, it's very simple. The Democrats, they're all upset about this. And look, I get it. But the reality is they're not in control here. And honestly, going back to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she had the opportunity to retire during the Obama administration. So this could have already been a resolved issue for the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
But she chose not to do that. And now here we are.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I think
Good point.
my recommendation to Republicans is to follow the example set by Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was a person who was uncompromising in her beliefs, and I believe Senate Republicans need to be uncompromising in their beliefs.
I think that is well stated, very well stated. So, to those who are watching, Todd, people want to know what's going on, what are you doing, what's your vision for the next few years for our country, and how can they get involved?
Well, I'm looking forward to a second term of the Trump administration.
Yes.
I've been a strong proponent of the policies that this administration has been putting forward, and I think they've been great for the country. Of course, we've been dealing with the Wuhan, China virus,
Yes.
and what better person to have behind the helm than a president who gave us one of the greatest economic comebacks in American history.
Say so.
I think that's going to happen again. As far as us, one of the big challenges moving forward for conservatives is communication. Where do conservatives go to get their news and information? I think we are watching the cable television networks become marginalized. They've been overrun by liberals and leftists, and people are not able to get the news and information they need, especially on culture war issues. And I hate to say this, but the conservative networks no longer cover anything dealing with marriage or sex or gender issues. They don't talk about pro-life issues much anymore. And we want to provide a platform for those kinds of stories at toddstarnes.com. And that's what we're doing. We run about 5 to 7 million readers a month on our website. And we're honored by that.
Yeah.
And we want to respect our readers by giving them the content that they desire to have.
Mm-hmm. And in my book here that comes out today, actually, it's the debut, it opens with a story like that. My daughter encountered a man in the women's restroom here in North Carolina during HB2. And so I really appreciate someone like you giving voice to someone like me, a mama who cares, who wants the insanity to stop, who wants us to be able to express our deeply held religious convictions without being silenced, muzzled by the left. And so thank you for what you're doing for America. Thank you for being here at Salt and Light. And on behalf of the Faith and Freedom Coalition, thank you, Todd Starnes, for what you're doing in media, because we need more media that reports the truth.
Well, thank you for that. Congratulations on what is this book? Why don't I have a copy of this book?
You will have, what, I already, get this. Okay, Pray America Great. I already signed it, and I prayed, and I said, may God continue to pioneer new truthful media through you in Jesus' name, Todd Starnes.
Wow.
You were a pioneer.
Donica, this is pretty awesome. Congratulations.
It was a long time coming.
Well, look, it is hard writing a book.
It's very hard. When I started that, both of my parents passed.
Is that right?
Yeah, and so I really never thought I'd get it out. And it miraculously got printed in a week because I had a great publisher. So
well, congratulations.
Thank
this
you,
is
Todd.
great.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Get yourself a copy of this.
Thank you, Todd. I
All right,
really
Donica,
appreciate
thank
that.
you.
Thanks for joining us here on the live feed at the Salt and Light Conference in Mount Airy, North Carolina. Donica Hudson with Todd Starnes. Have a good afternoon.